Dear students, welcome to the 24th session of the Histology, Animal Behavior and Applied Zoology paper prescribed by the Mangalore University for 4th semester BSc Zoology. In this session, we shall consider the parental care in amphibians. The amphibians were the pioneer animals amongst all other vertebrates to invade the land for the first time. On coming to this new environment, they had to face many hostile forces, and they had to develop various ways and means to overcome these obstacles. Naturally, greatest importance was given to the perpetuation of race, that means the reproduction, so that they can ultimately win the struggle. As a result, the reproductive mechanism had undergone extensive modifications in these amphibians. Perpetuation of the race can be maintained either by process of overproduction of eggs or by carrying of small number of eggs. So this is one of the commonest strategies employed by almost all the animals. In lower animals where there is no marked parental care, they produce huge amount of progenies, which is scientifically termed as overproduction. But this overproduction requires a lot of energy and lot of time, lot of resources, which may prove fatal to the higher animals if they try to overproduce in natural conditions. Hence, most of the higher vertebrates have developed a special phenomenon where they produce less and care for them until they are independent and which they are able to look after themselves. So here you can see two frogs exhibiting two different kinds of parental care. The first frog is carrying their young ones, that means the tadpoles, on her back, where the other frog is carrying the eggs over her dorsal surface. So such various kinds of parental care could be observed in amphibians, and in this section we are going to study about some of these mechanisms. Rearing or caring of the offspring is an achievement in the trend of evolution. It will be unwise to think that the care of youngs is a mammalian monopoly. No, many other animals do care for their young ones. Although it has taken a perfect shape in mammals, the phenomenon of parental care is quite well developed in amphibians, where extreme modification in structure and behavior are observed. Parental care is mostly a modification in the parents to take care of offspring, so that with a meager number of eggs, with a small number of eggs, continuation of the race can be maintained. As shown in these two figures, the first figure, the frog is making sure that the eggs, once they are hatched, are ready to be introduced to the aquatic environment. That means they generally lay eggs over the leaves or something which is pendulous over the surface of water. On the other hand, a salamander is guarding its eggs, and these salamanders guard these eggs until they hatch, and the small salamanders, the young salamanders, become independent. So in this chapter, we shall study about the parental care in Rhacophorus and some other frogs, caecilians, and salamanders. The Rhacophorus is commonly called as Malabar gliding frog or Malabar flying frog. It is a rhacophorid tree frog found in the western Ghats of India and is characterized by the presence of adhesive discs at the tip of their digits and a very thin red colored, highly vascularized web. These frogs lay their eggs in aerial foam nests. You can see here a foam mass attached to the pendulous branch of a tree, and this branch of a tree is hanging over the surface of water. Upon hatching, the tadpoles drop to the water under the nest and complete their development there. In rhacophorid frogs, you can see here the female during amphloxus secretes a jelly-like secretion with eggs from time to time, which is beaten by the crosswise movement of the hindlings of the female partner only, resulting in a formation of a small frothy mass. And this frothy mass, as you can see here, looks almost like an irregular ball. At the moment of separation of partners, the frothy mass looks white, but it gradually turns yellowish. As you can see here, the amphloxus is still going on with this pair. So this is the frothy mass which is released immediately after the amphloxus. It's so very fresh now. So it's clear white in color, and gradually the color of this egg mass becomes yellowish. The mass of the froth with eggs is called foam nest. Within few hours, the outer surface of the foam nest hardens gradually and remains in these conditions for days together. So this outermost covering of the frothy mass has the ability to harden after it is being laid. Hence, this nest can last for many more days. Foam nest forms on the leafy branches of the bushes, between the leaves of the overhanging water, on the grass beds in between the leaves overhanging water, or on the grass beds in the vicinity of waterline, and on the leaves of floating water hyacinth. So the condition or the requirement for the construction of this frothy moss is they must be either near to the water surface or exactly above the water surface. That means when the eggs hatch out and the froglets come out of it, the tadpoles come out of it, they must be able to reach the aquatic medium only where they can survive, because the tadpoles cannot respire air. The next example we are supposed to focus for the study of parental care in amphibian is the salamander. In salamanders, three different types of egg deposition occurs. In Ambystoma and Pterica species, they spawn large number of eggs, as you can see here, and the size of the eggs will be small. In quiet ponds, that means in stagnant water, where many large predators are unlikely to be there. That means in order to avoid the predators of these eggs, they lay their eggs in generally in stagnant waters. Some other salamanders like dusky salamanders or Pacific giant salamanders lay smaller batches of medium sized eggs. You can see here the eggs are laid in batches. Okay. In a concealed site in flowing water, and these are usually guarded by an adult, normally the females. So here what happens in dusky salamanders, they lay eggs in small batches like this in running water, concealed with the external environment, okay, so that they are not conspicuous or easily identifiable, and generally females will guard these eggs until they hatch out. Coming to many other examples of salamanders exhibiting parental care, many of the tropical climbing salamanders like Bolitoglossa and lungless salamanders like Plethodontidae lay small number of large eggs on land in a well hidden spot where they are also guarded by the mother. You can see here this is the uh, uh, a salamander female which is guarding the large number of eggs. The size of the eggs are also large laid by itself. Some species of fire salamanders are ovoviviparous. You can see here these are called fire salamanders because of the bright colors that they have. They do not lay eggs, instead they keep the eggs inside their body itself, and they only give birth to the young ones. Some species, such as the fire salamanders, are ovoviviparous, with the female retaining the eggs inside her body until they hatch, either into larvae to be deposited in water body or into fully formed juveniles. So these two are also possible. If they release larval stages, then they take them to the water bodies, or if they are fully formed metamorphosed amphibians, then directly they will be given birth. The next example we are supposed to study the parental care is the Hyla faber, a kind of frog commonly known as Ferrerio in Brazil, is a large tree frog present in Brazil. This Hyla faber has a very special character of protecting its progeny by building a basin-shaped nest or nursery in shallow water on the border of the pond. You can see here small shallow, depressions are constructed in the shallow waters on the border of the ponds. How do they do this? The female scoops the mud to a depth of around 7.5 to 10 centimeters. You can see here a female is trying to scoop the mud here. Thus remove a circular wall. Sorry, around 7.5 to 10 centimeter depth, and with the mud which is being removed will be used to construct a circular wall around the nest which emerges above the surface of the water. You can see here a small depression, cup-like depression is constructed, and inside which the eggs will be laid. So the inside wall is smoothened by the flattened webbed hands, and the bottom is also leveled by the belly and hands. Hands means here the forelimbs. Okay. The eggs and early larvae are thus protected from predators, insects and fishes, etc., until they are able to defend themselves. Heavy rains later on destroy the wall and the larvae go into the water. So this is synchronously maintained. You can see here the wells are prepared. The banks of the river are very vicinity of the water surfaces, and once the uh, froglets hatch out, when the larvae hatch out of their eggs, generally this will coincide with the rainy season. Hence, the heavy rains lead to drought. Sorry, not drought. Heavy rains lead to flood situations, which will simply wash away the corners of the nests, and these froglets will simply enter into the water system. So let us next move on to the study of parental care in Pipa. This Pipa frog is commonly called as Suriname toad. They are very well known for their very special kind of reproductive habits and parental care. Unlike the majority of toads, the males of this species do not attract mates with their croaks and other sounds often associated with these aquatic animals. Instead, they produce a sharp clicking sound by snapping the hyoid bone in their throats. The partners rise from the floor while in amplexus. Amplexus means the mating that takes place in between male and female. You can see here the male is clinging the female. Okay, but no copulation occurs here. No contact between the genital organs of the male and female occurs in amphibians. Okay, amplexus means simply the male clings over the back of the female. During each arc, the female releases around 3 to 10 eggs, which gets embedded in the skin on her back by the male's movement. So when the amplexus is going on, the female will release the egg, and these released eggs will be embedded in the skin of the female like this by the movements of the male. So after implantation, that means once the eggs are implanted perfectly here in the back of the female, which has already developed a spongy skin. Okay, so the eggs after implantation sink into the skin and form pockets over a period of several days, eventually taking on the appearance of an irregular honeycomb. So you can see this in the second picture here. The embryos develop through to the tadpole stage inside these pockets, eventually emerging from the mother's back as fully developed toes, though they are less than an inch long. You can see here small whitish, you know, miniatures of adults coming out of the back of the female. Once all of them have emerged from their mother's back, the toads begin a largely solitary life again. After giving birth to the new toads, the mother slowly sheds the thin layer of skin that was used to give birth to them, and they can begin the cycle again. The next example we are supposed to study in this chapter for parental care is Ichthyophis. Ichthyophis is a limbless amphibian, belongs to the order Apoda. These are also commonly called as Sicilians. And this Ichthyophis is a worm-like amphibian that has the ability of swimming. Although the adults of species do not appear to be comfortable with swimming, they can move through the water by making to and fro wave-like motions with their bodies, just like snakes swimming. Females of the ichthyophis lay their eggs near the water and provide parental care by keeping the eggs moist, rotating them, and even moving the clutch of eggs when threatened. That means always the female will coil around the eggs, make sure that it is well aerated, they are getting lot of fresh water, okay, and also whenever the threat is approaching, they simply carry all these eggs from the region of threat to the region where there is no threat. When the eggs are close to hatching, the female leaves the clutch and larvae hatch out with the gills and enter the water. So initially, immediately after the hatching, the Sicilians will have a well developed gills. You can see here the branches over the neck region where they enter into the water, and once they metamorphose, once they metamorphose, they leave the water and reach the burrows, which is the common habitat of living of these ichthyophis, and the burrows are generally in the soil. And once there is complete metamorphosis, the gills are absorbed back so that the fully functional adult is formed. So these few are the examples that are prescribed in your syllabus to study about the parental care in amphibians. For any more information about the parental care in amphibians, you could always refer these two textbooks, which are very common in most of the libraries of our colleges. Thank you.